Okay, I think we are recording now.
Yes.
Everybody, my name is Mariana, and I'm from Croatia. I'm very happy to have our colleague Priscila Mateini from Brazil. She is a teacher expert, especially specializing for students with special needs. And I'm very happy that she had joined us. I'm not going to take a lot of her time now because we want to hear her talk about this. Just a reminder for all of you here, thank you for coming, and I'm going to post in the chat the participant list so you can get your certificate. Priscila, one more time, just welcome here. You are one great friend, and I know you have a lot of experience in teaching these students, and you are doing this with some special love and heart, and I know that we are going to learn a lot from you. So thank you one more time for coming, and I'm over and out for the moment. Thank you.
Thank you for again. And I would like to say hello to everybody. There are many people from all over the place that I can see: Greece, Romania, Croatia. Sorry if I'm missing somebody from my country, Spain, because I'm from Spain, but I live in Rio. So I would say hello, everyone. It's a huge pleasure to be here present to you all this webinar about special needs and adaptive materials. Even though I'm not in Europe now, I live in Rio, and my contest is about Rio de Janeiro and the students that are Mediterranean. So this issue is getting so much focus when it comes about inclusive education. So when we're talking about inclusive education, it is not using the proper name as a special needs, but giving support, giving adapted materials, and also make them feel comfortable to learn with the regular students. That's the idea of inclusive education for us. So that there are groups of students and many parts of the world, including North America, South America, are discussing about a truly inclusive education for millions of STEM students and learners all over the world. I would just like to start with this question: what is STEM? And can you please give just a word? How can you say what is STEM? What is a special need when we're talking about special needs? Just give them a word. I'm gonna give you 1 minute to give them a word. You can write on the chat box, okay? What comes to your mind about STEM? Reading problems, special education needs, pupils that need special learning difficulties, ADHD, talent students also, talent students, learning problems. That's perfect. Concentration problems, yes. Many people get surprised when I explain to them that special needs students are not only autistic child or Down syndrome child, but also many other disorders, as you can see here in this slide. We have ADHD, we have, for example, learning difference, autism, Tourette syndrome. A lot of these kids socialize problems, as Karina said. So this is all special needs, emotional, like anxiety, depression. This is all kids and learners. We cannot say only kids, but all kinds of learners that we are going to have special needs. In my short period of teaching kids with special needs, I have been observing many students with this diagnosis that you can see in their word labs. There are some students that was very complicated to work with. How can you work with a kid that is not paying attention what you are teaching? How could you do if you have a student that has an emotional problem and disturb all your classes? This is something that is very close to our reality. So therefore, they are not the same. People think that special needs are all the same. No, they are not the same. They are special needs, they are different, totally different one for another. For example, autism kids, what I'm teaching nowadays, I'm teaching kids with autism and Down syndrome. They are completely different from a deaf student or a blind student because we have to work with them sometimes behavior. Sometimes we can focus on emotional. So a kid with autism, sometimes you need more patience, different from another one with a Down syndrome. So it is completely different. And they are not the same. Each syndrome and disorder have their peculiar difference. And this is the importance that we have to develop materials and adapt it for them. Not adapted for them on not only the material, but the content, the syllables, the approach, sometimes methodologies that we can use it to work with them, and will be helpful in their learning process. I would like to know if you know a person that she's very famous. Her name, it is Temple Grandin. Do you know, have you ever heard about this woman, Dr. Temple Grandin? You can say yes or no. Okay, yes, no? So she is an autistic child, and she's a doctor. Yes, she has autism, and she's an expert autism. So nowadays, she's a doctor, but when she was very young, the school, she's from United States, was very complicated to work with her because she is totally different as that the school was thinking about. So this moment when her mother put her in the school, it was very complicated to work with her because she was not the same as a regular student. And take a look here now in this slide. For example, this is what we call the traditional. As you can see in this slide, we have a traditional model of learning process. This triangle shows us how a young child learn a new language. So we have the child, we have the environment between this child, we have the children, the classroom, and the school. And also, we have the parents and the siblings and the home. But when we are talking about special needs learners, special needs students, we have to include something else here. For example, the child is supported by the family and the school and on. However, when we're talking about a SEN student, we have to include some other kind of support that we call multidisciplinary team. So we're gonna have this sometimes students with a psychologist, therapies, or they will have mediators. What is a mediator? Many people ask me, well, the mediator, in fact, is a teacher. Yes, it's a teacher. But if he is a teacher who gives support to that child during the class, so sometimes we have a class for 25 to 20 students or more. Here in Brazil, in public schools, that is a law that the students with special needs study in the regular classrooms. So we have a classroom with 40 students, and including these special needs, for teachers, it's completely different and completely difficult to work with this kid that moment. That is the moment that we include a mediator. A mediator is a person that will work with the child, the teacher, the classroom, and also with the parents. And this is the idea that we have for an adapted this kid for an inclusive education. When we work with mediators, these kids will have many kinds of support. And just the moment that we have found out what kind of learner this child would be. For example, I give you the example about the Temple Grande. Temple Grande, she is very famous, and in her time, she didn't have a mediator. So her teacher was the only person that she could interact with the whole class. She could engage with and work with the classroom only with her teacher. But this time changes, and they are thinking that a mediator during the classroom can help more than only the teacher. Of course, can help. You can help the child, as you can see the examples that I'm gonna give you during this presentation. When Temple Grande was diagnosed as a child with autism in her early ages, about 5, 6 years old, she was diagnosed not with Asperger. She was diagnosed as something like schizophrenia. So this was very hard for her mother to understand, because imagine in the decades of the 40s, the 50s, what was autism? What was Asperger? There was no study about that. So the study that we know today is an early study. The study about the 70s till now. And until now, we do not have an answer. So until this, back to the times, it was very difficult to understand a child with an autistic or, for example, Asperger or anxiety or dyslexia in the classroom. And she gave us an explanation in her book that is very helpful for us teachers, that when she talks about, when she explained how we could understand autism, she wants us to talk about different ways of thinking. So you have to get away from verbal language, like we are talking now. We have to think about pictures. And she doesn't think in language, completely different for us. For example, for me, I cannot think about picture. I see a picture, that picture represents something for me. But for her, that she is an autistic child, is a completely different. So this is the moment that we have to think about that. And after we reflecting about her way of thinking, we have to keep in mind that there are 3 different types of learners. We can have, what kind of learner we have in our classroom? Visual learners, logical learners, and verbal learners like we are. So that I would like you to think about acquisition and also about learning. Just a minute. Okay. We have to understand how our STEM students will acquire and learn a language. For example, I like so much this quote for a question: the good language learner is an acquirer. He may or may not be a conscious learner. So let's focus now on acquisition. Remember, when we were a baby, we learned our language, our mother tongue, with our mother, our father, the environment around us. We was not worried about making mistakes. We were observing them to communicate. That was our focus, to understand and not to understand, but to acquire to communicate. It's not necessary for a baby teach grammar rules or something else like that. However, when we thinking about learning, it's completely different. So it is like the quote here that we have, it is helped greatly by error correction and presentation of explicit rules. So when we are conscious about some kinds of rule, that is the moment that we are learning. For example, young children love rhyming words, and it is easy to memorize. And if we feel good during the learning process, they will really rarely show inhibitors. So they will do it without worry about they are making mistakes. So this is the difference between acquisition and learning. And when we're thinking about the special needs, we have to keep this in mind because we want them to acquire, to communicate. Then, when we think that he is good enough, not good enough, but when we think they are comfortable enough to interact, so this is the moment that the learning process will start. And to teach this kind of kids, we have to use some strategies. Some strategies that can be very helpful for us. This strategy is about the classes that I have been observing, that I have been working with, and that I have been invited to help the teachers. So there are these strategies have helped me a lot. For example, scaffolding, interaction, interference, mistakes, and imitation and materials. Okay? Now, I would like to talk to you. So this kind of strategy that we're gonna focus on our adaptive material. I'll try to give you now some ideas using these strategies. But first of all, sorry, you are listening to like an echo? Yeah? Oh my. Let me see.
Priscilla, it's okay. We can hear you fine. There is just a small echo, probably from your mic. Maybe you can just try to, if you can lower your mic down, so that it's not so loud. But it doesn't matter. So far, we could hear you perfectly. I would stop you if there were more like background noise. But that is fine. So far, I hope people understand. It's probably your headphones, but. We can hear you. I hope nobody, don't worry. You can just continue. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I will try to give you now some ideas using this strategy. First of all, we have to have some perception during our classes. Okay? So I suggest you in the beginning of the year, this is what I do in my class. So in the beginning of the year, I try to get in touch with the parents because we have some schools here in Rio that we do a parent meeting before the school year begins. So of course there are parents that will not talk about their kids. They just that are pretty good. They are very intelligent. They will not say that they are problematic. So this is the idea, but it is perfectly fine that we have this interaction between parents. Asking about your child, your student, is gonna improve the whole year how strategies you can use with them. So this is what I usually do with my classes. So and I suggest you another thing. When I come to the parents meeting, I usually give them a paper, and this paper I ask them to giving me three ideas, three adjectives about your kids. So they're gonna give me some kind of they are very lazy or kind of intelligent. So this is the idea that you're gonna catch up, and during this moment you're gonna try to create in the first day of class an activity that will engage everyone. Of course, we have to this is a plan. This is not something that is gonna really happen, but most of the time, 90% of my classes, I try to do this and work very well. So trying to know who are your students is very nice for you, the teacher, the mediator, and also for the whole class. This is be very helpful if you have, for example, a special needs in your classroom. Nowadays, we all know that we have some kids with special needs, okay? So most of the time, we only will figure out that the kids is problematic or there is some symptoms in 3 months ahead the class. So what you could work with them, you have to work very fast to not give problems to the other student. So this is a very nice idea and an activity that will avoid problems, future problems. And this is going to be very helpful for you. I remember that many parents, when I gave this paper, avoid to write things, not to expose their child, but I was not supposed to read that out loud. This was to keep it for me because I would create a material, what the basis that they gave me. Of course, they could lie for me, but this was the idea. Yes, the collaboration between parents and teachers is the best part. We have to work together. I don't know how is a child in their homes. If the kids is very calm in the classroom, it can be very stressed. So we don't know how this kid is in two environments. So this is the idea. Use a collaborative work with parents, school, and also with the treatment. Because some of the kids with special needs, they are in the treatment. And this is the moment that it's nice to work with his psychologist, his therapist, musical therapist. It is nice, this idea of collaboration. And going through these strategies sometimes can be very nice to work with them because our students is like the first game said, is a box of chocolate. We don't know which kid we're gonna pick for the next semester or for the next year. So they are completely different. And for example, I like to work with my students, giving this strategy of scaffolding. I like so much this quotation, and what a child is able to do in the collaborative today, you'll be able to do indefinitely tomorrow. I would like to ask Marijana, could you give me that many people send me some questions? Please, can in the end of the presentation be back to this question? I would love to answer you. So, for example, when what comes to your mind when you think about scaffolding? Do you know what is this word scaffolding is? Scaffolding. Here in this slide, what do you understand about it? You can write in the box. Saffolding. Support. All right, support. Oh, yes, yes, that's it. Yes, yes, that's it. So most of the time, the mediator or the teacher will provide a casual conversation. Um, and some conversation that is not conscious. You're not teaching them that moment. Yeah? And the learning interaction gonna happen. The best way of using this strategy is that we use it for new vocabulary or a language structure when the opportunity arises. So, for example, when I'm talking about my students, um, for example, I'm talking about weather. So, guys, how's the weather today? Ah, teacher, the day is hot, very hot. And you start this conversation. We are not focused about grammar rules, nothing about. You're gonna go just that. And what happens if it is gonna rain? Okay? So this is the idea. So we're giving them this scaffolding. So we're gonna work with them opportunities. These opportunities are gonna appear during the process. Another thing that I like to work with them is about interaction. When we're talking about interaction, we have to keep in mind that we want our students' special needs included in activities that we are given the whole classroom. We will not include a student for special needs just putting them during in the classroom. No, it is not an inclusive education. What we're talking about interaction is there is a special needs student working with the regular students. For example, they need to be in contact with the normal kids. What's the problem? They have to work, they have to develop. They are not something that we're not learning. This is not true. Okay? And however, there are some times that is a kind of stressful because we know that kind of kids with dyslexia, kids with a hip IGAG, it's completely difficult to interact with them because he all the time stand up and sit down and he's running all over the room. So how can we work with these kids? So using ideas that is gonna be significant for him, significant for her. For example, if he likes, for example, Angry Birds, and you know that your imperative student loves Angry Birds, so bring them to your classroom. What's the problem? Bring a toy. So bring the toy to your class. This is the idea. This is how we're gonna work with him. We're gonna engage them with the activity. So this idea, this is the proper time to adapt. Or for example, I have a student that is a non-verbal. Yes, a non-verbal. He can hear, he can write, he can do whatever, but he do not speak. So this is the moment of that we can work with flashcards. This is what's perfect, okay? So this is the idea that we have to do. For example, ideas, activities with a post-it and glued on the wall or under the desk. It will be great to work in pairs, create a situation of sharing. This is the idea that we want to, this interaction for our students with special needs. Another thing that I like to work, there are some times that our students will try to explain what they are feeling and in their own language. For example, my students sometimes wanted to speak in Portuguese to say that he likes that activity too much, but he doesn't know how to say that in English. So feel free to give him the interference. There's no problem, okay? So there are some times that our students will try to explain what they are feeling in their own language. For example, their own language, we are not talking here, guys, only about the verbal language, but we can talk about the body language, or they can draw what they are feeling. This is interference. I have a student, he's about 12 years old, that he is a nonverbal. I'm a mediator. I am a mediator for him. And all the time that he gets confused because he didn't understand what the teacher was explaining, he tried to draw. And his draw, it is perfect fine. So, and he gives it to me. And I know that he's trying to identify, teacher, I didn't understand these. And he draw things that you can't imagine. So, but this is the idea, okay? So, for example, if you are a primary teacher, you will focus on the mother tongue. Or if you are teaching English, like my case, try to work with them both language. For example, Portuguese, Spanish, English, to help them to communicate. How could you create or adapt an activity using this strategy? Okay, so you using this interference is very nice. There is no problem at all. It is valuable this moment, the interference, mainly when we are working with young learners and teens. And teens sometimes can be very tough to work with because we have a kind of interference, not about the language itself, but we have an interference about the device. They love with cell phones, tablets, iPads, iPhone during the class. How can you work with, how could you use this strategy? You can adapt this for them. This is very nice. This is something that we have to thinking about. And another thing that I want to talk about is about the mistake. About mistake. It's okay make mistakes, and everybody does. For example, special needs student or regular student will make mistakes. We can do it. We all make when a mistake happens, it's not put our student on the spot. You're gonna say in front of everybody during the class, "Oh, you are wrong. Come on, it's not this." No, you cannot do that because you're gonna make it the kid. If the kid is a special needs, they're gonna be frustrated. There are some people that goes, they drop the school. So it is not our idea. So correcting them on the spot can make them feel insecure and shy. And most of the time, they can drop school. It is the moment that we have to be very careful when it comes about mistakes. If we are talking about special needs or regular ones, and we have to create a friendly environment without bullying and explain to all these students that we are learning all by experience, always learning together. You can give our own experience to emphasize these strategies. For example, you can say, "Oh, I'm the teacher, but I don't know any. I don't know how to play drums. I'm the teacher, but I don't know how to draw. I don't know how to draw. And if I draw a dog with like a duck, it's gonna be a mistake, and everybody gonna laugh. We're gonna not use this as a thing that's gonna disturb our class, but we're gonna make this a funny moment. Hey, the teacher doesn't know how to draw. Oh, I doesn't know how to draw. Can you help me?" And you ask them to come to you and help them. This is the idea that we are trying to do here in the school that I'm working with, and also the school that I am observing and give some ideas, they have this problem that no, not make mistakes like a rule. No, it's not like that. They have to do. We learn it from mistakes. This is our life. Nobody knows everything, so this is the idea. And for example, I love to work with my kids with imitation. All of us have learned this using imitation, some activities such as Simon Says or Mine, most of the time for to adapt some activities during the class. So Simon Says. So work with that sense to that is, for example, with is very for Asper. I'm going to give you for an autistic child. They are very peculiar about the they can describe things that I can't. For example, they describe things perfectly. That I feel, how can you see that? I don't see that. So when I ask them to work with mine, I always pick my special student to do this because they're gonna do it perfectly. They're gonna make the details. They're gonna do that the way that you're gonna see. Oh my! Everybody in this encourages the confidence and the awareness of self and the others. They're all together. And also doing this kind of imitation, observing what your friends are talking about, encourage physical control. Simplicity of the thought and the movement are more important and it stimulates the imagination. That's why we are trying to give them. When my kids are working with imitation, I give them free. So I give them paper. So for example, I'm gonna show you some. For example, I work with this. Okay, this is a hard job, and they have to create an activity. My idea of a hard job, for example, a builder, let's see, teachers, sometimes can be a hard job. And they have to do this, trying to make the other student engage the activity. And that's the moment that we are learning with them. This is what we make them free. And there's the moment that they love to do it. They are exploring their imagination. That is how imitation for special needs is very important because most of the time they do not recognize themselves. I like to work with them with a mirror. So sometimes we sit down on the floor and look at the mirror and we look at ourselves and say, oh my, today my eyes is blue, green. So you can imagine. Now let's imagine a monster. This is how we're gonna work with these kids. We cannot be glued by the file levels or the content. We have to try another thing from these kids. We have to try what the world surround them can bring you to make them think, make them create, make them be using their imagination. So now I'm gonna give you some ideas. Okay? Now I talk too much, and now I'm gonna show you some idea how to adapt and create materials. So this is the part that I love the most when I am working with my kids. You can create and adapt material with textbooks or activities, projects, games, cultural activities, and storytelling. For example, look at this. This is an activity that these are from their book from school, and this And the picture here with the kids, one of them has a problem of memorization and was very complicated. He didn't, everybody tried to help them, but he didn't get what the, the idea from the course was given them. So I decided to work with them using a different technique. For example, here in the book, I try to, first we have a 1 hour before with these special needs students. I try to use them only the picture. So these two pictures, I asked him to explain for me in Portuguese. So so now, what can you see in these two pictures? And he explains, oh, this and that. Okay, it is a school or it is in a shopping mall? It's a school. And look at here. This is girls or this is boys? And he tried to explain for me what was it. And when we started to work with the test, what I suggested him to do, I think I have here one. Yes, I have here one. So I use this. Oh, sorry. I use this. This is a marker, and I said to him this. Look to this. You're gonna go to. You have to go to your class, okay? So there, the teacher gonna ask you to read the test. What you have to do? You remember the picture is talking about, yes? The picture is talking about the school and about kids. All right, okay? All right. When the teacher asks, what is the test about? You're gonna have to use this yellow pen and try to underline what you understand. Okay? Can you do this for me? And say, okay, this is very easy. I'm gonna do it. Okay. So I try to use this to him. I did this with him the whole semester. It's for 5 months doing this. His progress was very nice. He understood what the teacher was trying to do. The vocabulary was very easy because we have this 1 hour before. Just by looking to the pictures, we could memorize picture with the words. Remember that I talking about the student that has visual learner. Yes, this is the idea. So he tried to visualize what was it about the test. The same thing was the end of the unit. The unit was about 5 pages. In the end of the unit, I usually work with them in the interactive board. So I bring to them the principal, the main vocabulary, and put there on the board and to make, for example, crosswords, or they find out what is this word means, to make them like a recycling, okay, recycling the language. So this is the idea that I try to use with the textbooks with my students. Another thing that I like to work with my students is here. I have a student, she's not deaf. First of all, she's not deaf. Her mother and her parent and her father are deaf. And her grandmother, I don't know, this family is a special needs family. And this girl, she was teaching us about sign language. Each country has their own language, has their own code. It's not the same in Brazil, it's not the same in USA, not the same in UK, not the same. It's completely different. So in this case here, we are trying to make mind, okay, to understand. And she have to work with another girl to make them together. All right. So in this idea, they have to do, for example, food. I give them the name of the food and they have to do. She was very lucky because the girl knew how to do the sign language, so it was easy to her to make the mind and engage all the classroom. This class was very big. It was about 15, 17 students. And when we stopped to do this kind of activity, everybody stopped it because everybody loved to it's different, completely different from their reality. So it was nice to work with this kid. And for example, I like to work with them, activity with small letters and create, for example, things. I have an apple full of letters and I pick one letter and I say, today it's means of transportation. I want a means of transport with the letter T, run. So they have to find out the other letters. And after this is for young learners, very young learners. So when they found out the letters, so they create the means of transport. So they use crafts, they use paper, color paper, they use their imagination. This is the idea of our activity. And after that, we, of course, we try to make some drills. For example, I love train, I love bus, I love cars. So this is the idea for them to practice listening, speaking, and also kind of writing. Don't think like it was kind of writing, but kind of this. And the prompts. I usually use prompts on the board. In this case here, the prompt is on the interactive board, and I write something. What is your email address? What is your telephone? They have to come together and make the question to your friend. If you have a nonverbal student in the classroom, you can use flashcards, and you're gonna show. And the boy gonna say, oh, my cell phone, that is nice, have it. So this is the idea. So it is able to interact with the whole classroom. This is not the biggest problem. And I like to work with them, with the very young learners, about my calendar. I take with me this calendar, and it's every day before class begins, they have to say what day is it, weekdays, Wednesdays, Mondays, Sundays, what is the year, how is the weather, it is rainy, it is sunny, what season is for spring, fall, whatever. And after that, they have to make the question to each other. So if you have a nonverbal student, you adapt with flashcards, and this is very important to not leave them behind. This is not the idea for everybody have to work. Or if he don't want to use the flashcard, he can use also. You can also use drawings. So he draw. Today it is rainy. You draw a cloud with the drops. So it is very nice. They are very creative. Projects. So this is the project that I love most to work with them. We have this project. You can see behind my head that my project. In the end, they gave to me what they draw, and that was very nice. This book. It's very good to work with a very young child, very young learners, and it is beat the cat. So every day, every class, we have 2 days of class, Monday, Wednesday, or Wednesday and Friday. They have to beat the cat. And for example, for these here, the one of the students was I don't know what his mother never told us what he was, but he was very imperative. He cannot stop. He run all the classes, but what made him feel peaceful, calm, and relaxed was the time when I used the drawings. Was perfect. They loved to do that. Was amazing. Was he tried to put all his stress in these pictures, in the drawing. Was very nice. In this project, we have every semester we have to do something. We have to work with the colors, with numbers, with colors, numbers, music, and I love, I hate. So this is very nice activity to work with young learners. The other project is about writing. There are some students that cannot concentrate to write, and they get confused, and maybe it's very problematic for them because they have to do a composition at the end of the semester. How can he do a composition if he do not concentrate, he do not remember anything? So I try to work with him using some ideas. For example, I put in the right side the verbs, and the other side we try to create the task together. That was the idea. He was talking to me what he was doing, and he went to the hostel. That was very nice because I was understand what he was feeling, and I was learning about this student because most of the time we don't know about this student. He was there with us Monday and Wednesday, but he didn't talk to us anything. So this kind of project is very helpful for a student which has a lack of concentration and memory. Very nice things to do. Games. Games is the best part to work with this kind of students. And of course, I try to use games, but this game I try to use a methodology that we call teach. I'm going to explain for you in a few minutes what is teach. This kind of games, as you can see here, I have the cards, I have a Nutella pot, food of my favorite food, and the boards that they have to work with. These ideas here I use because two of them are autistic, and the psychologist asked me to come to her appointment and observe how she was working with them to concentrate, to memorize, and to write. So then she introduced to me this methodology that I'm gonna show to you right now. This here. That is teach. Teach is a kind of methodology that I use it a lot with my students. And is a training, the acronym, it is training and education of autistic and other communication handicapped child, okay? So some specialists call it as a methodology, and others call it as approach. There is this difference. Some ideas that I get from Teach, I recommend you in this site. I'm going to put here to you. I'm going to put in the chat box where you can find these ideas from where I come from. It is here. Oh, let me see here. It's from Pinterest, okay? So you can go there on Pinterest about Teach and find out many activities that you can work with your students. Guys, don't worry about if you, I don't have any special needs students in my class. Don't worry, you can work with them. You can work with everybody. It's not for child with special needs or people with special needs. This is the idea that we work with everybody else. This is perfect. This is great. It's great for to memory, for everything. So now, let me come back. So this here, so let me come back that to my slides just a minute to here, to the games. This is the idea where I came from the Pinterest. Sometimes social media has given me the best resource to work with my students. This is the moment that I try to use many kinds of things that I have been working with, many kinds of classes that I have been doing, and work very nicely with my special needs. So some people ask, oh, what kind of methodology do you use? What kind of approach do you use? So I don't use only one approach or only one methodology. I try to experiment many methodology and approach that will help my students develop or will help my students to overcome their problems and to try to interact them with the whole classroom. This is why I believe about inclusive education. We have to include everybody else. There is nobody to be outside. This is the idea of that I'm researching about. It's about the inclusive. They have to be with everybody else. And another thing that I like to work with my students, I have to hurry up because it's about to finish. Yes, I think I talk too much. It's about the cultural activities. For example, here I'm going to explain about these 3 cultural activities. This one is from Brazil because it is a cartoon called de Menino Maluquinho. It is a naughty boy that we call here in Brazil. And I try to put a pen in my head to try to make my students feel how 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 is the correct attitude? It's like this. See, what's the problem using a pen in your head? Of course, you're gonna not do this in the street. But the problem, try to give them imagination, what the kids love most. So I try to use this. This idea was from a teacher for Cultura Inglesa Rio, Guilherme Pacheco, and then I love his idea and I try to use it with my students too. The second one was an activity, how is the weather today? Social media, I asked him 10 friends from many parts of the world, Venezuela, Canada, Switzerland, UK, whatever. They have to tell me, how was the weather today? In the moment that I was with my student in the classroom, live, and the comments were coming, and they get, wow, see, people from Indonesia, oh my gosh, teacher, you know people from Indonesia? Oh yes, I know. So this is the idea, so interact them to the whole world. They have not this classroom. Nowadays, we have internet in our classroom, we have to work with, we have to use it. You have to make sure that you're gonna work with them. And another one, I used these activities, 2 activities, one from a book and another one from the British Council, and this one from a student who could not speak, a non-verbal student. So we have a Halloween party coming in the end of the month, so he had to work with all the classroom. If he didn't know how to say his name, he gonna try to use it. So this is the idea that I try to, it's not my idea. Also, it was there to help them to overcome their problems. What I suggested, another thing is storytelling. storytelling is a very nice activity because you can use your imagination, creativity, and you can use puppets. You can use the kids. You can ask your kids to bring toys. You can ask them to create their own puppets. That's magnificent. So this is perfect. So this is how we try to work with. There is a good storyteller I'm a huge fan. It is Juan Uribe. He has many ideas of effective and it's amazing how he works with puppets and with storytelling all over the world. I think that some people may know him, is Juan Uribe from, he's from ICDI where I met him. So this was very nice. And it's very good to work with because you encourage and motivate the kids to work with everybody together and develop creativity and cognitive skills. So this is the most important thing that we want. And teach that I ask you, this is a video. My presentation, you can have it. If you want it, you can send me an email, I can give you. There's no problem. There is a movie that I recommend for all of you watch it. It is Let's Start on Earth, talking about a teacher who is like a mediator, and that there is a student with dyslexia in the classroom, and he tried to help these kids with all his ideas. Okay, so and here are the blocks that I recommend to you to do. My focus on my inclusive education is more for autism children and also with kids with a problem with memories and nonverbals. So my materials are more focused about this. But the idea that I try to help you here today, you can use it with many levels. There is no just for young learners, but you can use it with teens, and this is not a big problem for you to adapt. What we have to keep in mind, guys, is that we have to adapt for their reality, their content. And this is important for us. This is the idea that we are trying to raise our awareness about inclusive education. Education is about that. It's to include. It's come together. It's not to be there in the classroom just because it is the law. Here in Brazil, you have to have a student with special needs in a regular class because it's the law. They cannot be away from school. But how? How can you give this support to a student or a learner that has a special need, necessity, if they don't know how to work with teachers? That's why I'm talking about from the name of many teachers from Brazil and also from many parts of the world. Our universities are not prepared to help us to how to deal with these kids. We have the same problem. So I can see that the problem in many parts of the world, even in Europe, where people think, oh, Europe, oh, United States has this problem. Of course, we are not prepared. Our educational system are not prepared for that. So we have to create this. How? How can we try to change this idea that social, that we have to integrate, stimulate schools, institutions to include these kids to our society? They can be a better human being, of course, and study. How many people we know that is autistic child that overcome all the barriers that the disorder offer to him, okay, or offer to her. And this is the idea that I try to use this in this webinar. So I would like to thank you so much. There is here the reference, and thank you so much for your time. Sorry, it's about 10 minutes.
No, it's okay. Thank you. It was interesting because you have been using a lot of your personal practice from your classroom, and I think those are maybe the best part of the presentation, when people get these ideas or the best practices, and how do you work with your students, and how to use certain materials, how to use that materials, and that was the whole point. And I would just like to start with some of the questions, or maybe just the comments. The end, you know, you finish with that the main problem of for us teachers, and also for all of these system of our educational system worldwide, especially in Europe, is that we in the university or in the faculty, we are not specialized to work with these students, and then now they are integrated or into mainstream classes, and sometimes we get in a way confused. We would like to help them, but we somehow don't know how, and it's good to get some of the ideas, some of the tips from experts or somebody like you. But I know one of the points of our eTwinning inclusive education group is to have teachers their ideas, to ask for help, and to give others some strategies or methodologies that they have been using or that they are now familiar with, and just to help each other, because there are not so many like materials like in Canada or the United States, or that you have mentioned. Okay, now there was one question. I don't know if colleague is still here. Let me see.
Yes, I'm here.
Yes. Josip Brankovic from Croatia, he has a question when you were talking about something, parents and probably student interaction or teacher-parent cooperation, and he said, what to do when parents refuse to cooperate? So maybe you can try to elaborate maybe on this.
Yes, I have this problem too, because sometimes there are some parents that avoid to tell us that what the kids have. For example, we all know that the kid has a kind of problem, but the parents are very strict to not say what they have. So I tried, but this is by myself. I tried to contact the coordinator or the DAO and explain what is going on. Oh, I have these students in the classroom. Their behavior is like this. I want to talk to the parents. How can we talk to them? Try to give us an idea what we can help these kids. So I have a problem that the mother refused to say that his son was an child. So I have to contact the DAO, and the DAO asked the mother, well, the teacher has a problem with your child. She asked you to come to school and talk to her. She never confirmed to me that their kid was a problematic, a SEM student. So she's always said, no, my kid is normal. Some situation like that, so you breathe, slow down, and try to create something in your classroom to not put that kid away, because if the parents are not
what you are saying,
opportunity.
So what you are saying. What you are saying is that you have noticed that the student had some problems, but the parent didn't want to admit that was the problem. The same thing happens in many schools. If you recognize, then you have to be very, very patient with the parents, and maybe give them, tell them that they should maybe go and have their kids test or something, tested to see what kind of problem. Did you recognize a specific problem? Like, for instance, the student was had some learning problems, or maybe that ADD, or what kind of problem was a specific problem for this student that you are mentioning?
The problem is that he has an imperative behavior. He's not stop. he run the class all over. So I suggest the mother looking for a doctor and a psychiatrist, because I am not prepared to say your kid is autist. So the mother gonna, oh, who are you to tell me that? Do you have a degree, a doctor degree for that?
Yes.
The problem.
That's the main. I would like to add a few things, and I read something what Araceli read in the chat also. Well, the same thing is in my school. My school is now an inclusive school, and I know that we have been talking that the parents are the biggest problem. And since I work in high school, we have like people, students coming from primary school. Sometimes they come to our school with already, like a medical document that they have some problem, and that's okay, and that we accept them and we work with them. Sometimes we notice that some other who come but have learning disabilities, that you can notice that they cannot memorize, they can learn easily. And then I know my colleague said to a parent, I'm sorry, but your son really has problems. We have noticed that he's going to fail the class. Why don't you have him, maybe we could put him on adapted program. He will learn almost the same, but we will have individualized program. She didn't. She refused because she thought that she's going to be like a head and etiquette on that, but it would be much easier for him. And then, of course, he failed the class, and it's a bit difficult. I know that's a big question. It's something that we can discuss even more and more, but I would like to read what Araceli wrote, that she's a primary teacher, and she has 2 children with severe mental retardation, and it's very difficult for her to deal with them because they do not know many basic things in their mother tongue. She can't use the computer with them, neither the whiteboard, because they do not pay enough attention to them. I would like to ask Araceli if she, as a teacher in this classroom, have a languages or assistant for these students, because in Croatia we have assistants for these special students that can help the teacher to deal with them. I don't know what about no, you don't have.
She don't have.
She doesn't have, yeah. So what can you suggest to her? It's very difficult for them, but I don't know.
For example, these realities that she's working with is a reality that she needs a mediator. Would be the perfect idea of a mediator, but if she can't, it's a very problematic, because we face this every day here in Brazil too. So it is not easy issue for us. So what was the ideal would be the school provides a mediator for these students, because if he cannot work with the material that she tried to bring, or also he cannot work with the interactive whiteboard, she cannot stop her classes and focus on these kids with these necessities. So the idea is talk to your coordinator, talk to your DAO, and show them, ask them to come to your class and observe how it's difficult to this. This is how I did to one observer that I went. I invited the supervisor and also the coordinator to watch the class with the teacher. She could not teach that way, and the school has a big name saying that was an inclusive education. So this is not inclusive. This is not the idea of inclusive. Inclusive is not to open the doors to come the student and sit back the classroom. Is not the idea. The idea of inclusive is work with these kids with the same material, with the same content, but we have to adapt. And they have to have a support. And this support, in this case, is a mediator.
Yeah, it is difficult. Unfortunately, many schools don't have either money or this problem in the system. But I will now, it would be a topic for a round table, so we have to rush. Just a question, Evelyn Newby mentioned that it's a good question what you have been talking about, adaptation. But it's okay for young children, for primary school. But what about teenagers? Like she teaches 15 or 17-year-old students in vocational high school, and I know that sometimes maybe it's a bit strange for them to use some of these, I don't know, maybe techniques. So what do you think? Have you ever had an experience working with older students?
I have a student with 70 years old. He now would be on the university, but the family decided to maintain him in the high school until he gets confident to go to the university. So to work with a teenager with this kind of disability is very complicated. So it is not the same way that we are talking about a young child and a child. Teenager, we have many psychological things behind. So it's the ideal thing is these kids, this teenager, has a support, a psychologist supporter, and also a mediator, because this is the moment that he needs support, because it's the moment that we are changing for childhood to adolescence. So this is the idea that I gave it to you.
Yeah, well, somebody asked what is the borderline, Virginia. Priscilla, let me just ask you. So, are you only working with special education needs students, or you have them included into the classroom with mainstream students? If I understood, it's like integration of them or inclusion of these students in the mainstream classes, right?
Yes, that's it.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes, and this is what most of us now are doing in Europe as well. We are including these students, and it's hard because sometimes the teacher needs to prepare double, not just for mainstream students. What I have noticed, and I would like to suggest that you, in a way, need to even include those mainstream students to be a bit of a help. And I have noticed with one of my students who has an ADD, that he is probably taking some medications. I'm not quite sure about that because I haven't talked to the parents so far, but I know that he loves tablets. And I have noticed, one of my colleagues said that she had problems with him taking notes or something like that. And I told her, okay, why don't you show him one note? I saw he is using tablet, he's carrying with him in the classroom, and this student even has a personal assistant. She is a teacher also, she goes around with him around the school. And it's great because he sometimes feels lost. He sometimes will go to another classroom where he is not supposed to be because he's ADHD. He's both, he has this double disorder, but he is rather intelligent for English language. His mother tongue is Croatian, but he has an A in English, and he communicates in this language perfectly, in the foreign language. This is so interesting, but he really loves tools, and because you have mentioned games, and I would just like to add what Taran said, games for the students, these students are like air for us. And I think that's one of the great definitions or something that I really love what she has written. It's something that they really, really love and enjoy. And maybe this will be the way how to involve them in the classroom. It's hard sometimes, it will not always work, right? But we need to try.
Yeah, don't give up. The idea is that we have to try to give them an opportunity to learn. We try to provide them something that can engage them to the classroom, but we cannot exclude them to be in the classroom not just doing nothing.
Yes.
So this is very difficult because we don't have many things available to us. So when we're talking about inclusive education, today is to such a part. We have many things, but for everything. So it's complicated when we have to talk about only autism, only Down syndrome, only dyslexia. So it is very complicated. But what we have to do, we have to focus. What is my focus? My students, he have to be in the classroom. So I have to try the best to him right now.
Yes. Yes,
Mention a Brazilian name?
Yeah,
Which Brazilian name?
I think there was a question about what was the name of the storyteller that you really...
The storyteller, it is Juan Uribe.
Yeah, because I wrote another one. Juan. Oh, yeah, right, I know. Yeah, Juan is our colleague on Facebook. Yeah, he's a great. He goes around with this puppet and
I learn with him.
Yeah. Juan is... I'm going to put about one in the group on eTwinning, and I'm going to say something. Maybe we can even invite Juan to talk about storytelling with young learners, especially with young learners. And so, again, Juan Uribe. You can even find him on Facebook. He's very nice, and he has his special... Yes, that's one, yes. Okay, so just one last question. It's something that it was asked about. What do you think about that one that didn't she read that it's better for Asperger kids to be in a regular class. What do you think about that? That's one type of autism, right? So I'm just asking.
Okay. I ask you again to repeat because I didn't understand.
Yeah, what is your opinion about having an Asperger student or a child being included in a regular class? How do you pronounce it?
I'm gonna give you a personal experience. My own child, my small kid, my son is an autistic. So we find out that he was an Asperger 2 years ago. And he studied in a regular class. And this is why I try to study what was inclusive education, what was the idea of teaching kids with special needs. I was with him in their school. I was looking for many schools. Some schools said that he would be accepted, but this school that he studied accepted him in a way that it is totally inclusive. He works with everybody else. There is no difference. His material is adapted. So this is the idea of working with Asperger. It is not so complicated enough. What you have to do, it is depends of the level of these kids, because there are some Asperger that is so
difficult to handle. Intelligent.
Yes, intelligent. They are far away from what we are expecting. So how can I work with this kid? So this is the idea is you have to have a mediator, and this mediator have to be a support with the psychologist. You cannot put a Asperger kid in a school without treatment. It is impossible because he is not to correspond to what they are doing. This is what I am facing now with my own child, my son. So this is the idea. So all the time when a teacher asks me, oh, what about Asperger? How am I going to work with him? So you have to work with that. You have to have a mediator, a multidisciplinary team behind you, because it's not going to work. The school's going to be the inclusive one, but he have a support. He have to have people around him. This is the idea. And of course, public schools, some schools, they will not have the support. And most of the time, we have to go to private schools or private institutions that is very expensive.
Yes, maybe we can ask you to share later with us, at least with me, and I can share in the group some interesting articles working that are connected with working with this kind of students. It will be of great help because we are trying to get as many materials as possible so that we can learn more about these kind of students, all kinds of inclusive students, and even the talented one. And thank you so much, Priscila. I don't think we have enough time. We have been talking actually, you have been talking for more than an hour and a half. Thank you for joining us. And thank you, everybody, one more time for coming. It was a pleasure having Priscila. We have got a lot of ideas, at least a lot of encouragement and motivation to start learning and working with inclusive students. And I would like to finish with a nice quotation by the regional support for inclusive education here in Europe, that inclusive school, as you have also mentioned, Priscila, is a school where every child is welcome, every parent is involved, and if he wants to be involved, and every teacher is valued. So we are just trying to hope to get this worldwide, and that we are going to have this work. Thank you one more time, everybody. Thank you for coming. I hope you have signed up for your certificate. Here is one more time the Google Doc. The slides and the recording will be available. Bye, everybody. Thank you, Priscila.
Bye-bye, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye.